hard, get dough. I can't get no sleep, please make my life more simple. But I wouldn't trade a thing for what I have. I go hard, do what I need to make it last. They say the good die young, I hope I'm bad. Cheers to my past.
Okay, today is a rainy day. And you can see outside, actually there was a couple bucks out there this morning. I forgot to film it, but it is a rainy, miserable day outside. But we need the rain. And today I decided that because it's a rainy day and I haven't been working on my CNC that much, I think it's time to do a CNC project today. And I kind of had one that I wanted to do for quite a while, which is a wine cellar sign for my friend Jeffrey. And Jeffrey kind of got me into wine a long time ago, and I started collecting wine probably about 15 years ago. And yeah, I built a lot of wine cellars actually before I retired. I built quite a few wine cellars for quite a few of my customers. And yeah, anyway, let's we are going to go in the office first and pull up I don't have a lot of really good wood right now, so I'm going to repurpose a dark color cutting board and turn it into a small little cellar sign. And I'm going to download the idea I have for it off the internet, and I'll take you step by step how I do it. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, the first thing we do is set up our job setup. Now we're going to do single-sided. Our width is going to be 9.854. Our height is going to be 11.2885. And I use calipers measuring my material. And the thickness is 1.837, almost 2 inches thick. Now we're going to start at the material surface, lower left corner. And we're going to set our resolution. You have three choices here: standard, high, or very high. Now, I found that this, in the middle, that one works good, 3 times slower, but it works good for a 3D object. So the first thing we're going to do, we got all our materials set up. We'll go ahead and hit OK. Now we want to import, we're going to import, because this is going to be a wine cellar sign, we're going to import some modeling. And right here, we click the modeling tab. You see this little file, import a component or 3D model. We'll click on that. Now, I think the first thing we should do is put a bottle in the middle. So we'll go ahead and import the wine bottle. I've got a bunch of different options here. We'll go ahead and leave all this the same. It's going to come in big, but we'll scale it down. So we'll go ahead and import it just like it is. Now there it is right there, but you can see it's really big. It came in really big. That's fine. We'll hold the shift key down, grab this little node, and pull it down until it's pretty small, almost to our project size. Then we can zoom in a little bit, and we're going to make it a little smaller. We don't want it too small, but we want enough room to leave our, to have our name in there. Because we're going to have a name up here and a name down here, probably cellar down here. So there's our wine bottle. Now, the next thing we need to do is we're going to stay in the modeling tab. We're going to import some wine glasses. So we'll go ahead and click the wine glass and import that. And we're going to leave everything the same. It's going to come in really big. Go back to our drawing tab. And there's our wine glass. Now you can see how big it comes in. But that's okay. It's a big file, and we'll shrink it down. Get it pretty close down there. Okay, now we can zoom out. Obviously it's upside down, so we'll rotate it around. I want to have it kind of angled, so, and then we'll shrink it down a little bit. Not too much. We want it kind of a realistic size next to the bottle. Now that kind of looks okay, but it looks a little too big still. So I'm going to reduce it down just a little more. Boom. Okay, I like that so far. Now, what we want to do is we want 2 wine glasses. We want another one on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my mirror objects. I'll leave it highlighted. We'll mirror the objects right there. We'll flip horizontal. So now we have 2 glasses and they're identical spaced apart. Now I think what I want to do is I want to add some grapes and some grape leaves in here. Kind of give it some depth. So we'll go ahead and come over here. I've already got some grapes here. We'll open that. And we'll leave all that same. We're going to bring it in big. And then we will, we're going to go find it. You can see how big it comes in. We'll highlight it. And we'll scale it back down. And there we go. Now, obviously it came in kind of upside down. So I'm going to spin it around here. Probably something like that. Now I'm going to move this down. I don't want it to bury the wine glass. Let's see, like right there. So you still see the stem of the glass and the grapes coming across. I kind of like that. So I'm going to mirror that. Flip that horizontal. So we'll have 2 of those and close. The next thing I want to do is bring in some a leaf. That's really my last thing I need. So I'm going to bring that in. Obviously, it's going to come in really big. You can see it's covering the whole thing. So we're going to highlight that. Grab the little node, hold the shift key down, and make that as small as possible. It's almost disappeared there, but there it is. We'll go ahead and make it a little bigger. Now, I don't want it too big. I want it to be realistic, so I think we'll put this right there. So it's kind of connected to that little stem. However, I'm going to rotate it so that the back of it, so it looks like it's part of this grape. There we go, like right there. Now I want to move this, actually I'm going to move it up a little bit, and I want to move it to the back and click out. So there it is, kind of behind it but connected there. Now I need 2 of them, so I'm going to highlight that again. I'm going to go up here and mirror objects, flip it horizontal, and it should be the same to the back. So we'll click out of there, and you can see it's behind, but it's connected to the grapes. So the grapes are kind of intertwined with the glasses. So far I like all that. Let's go ahead and highlight it. We'll hold the shift key down and we'll highlight everything else. Okay, so you can see over here we have quite a few 3D objects. Now what I want to do is center it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my centering key, leave them all highlighted, and this should move them up. So apparently we're in the center. Now, I can see the bottle. Now I have a little bit of room up here, so we're going to go ahead and close out of there. We're going to go to our drawing tab. And here's where we need to create some letters. So we're going to go over here to the text, and I'm going to use bold and all capitals. And we're going to put, my friend's restaurant is called Pamplemousse. So we'll go ahead and put Pamplemousse. We want to do cap locks, caps. So this is going to go on the top. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to go to my centering tool right here and center it left to right. And we can see it's, way bigger than it's going to need to fit up here. So I'm going to hold the shift key down and shrink that down, center it left to right. Now that looks pretty good. The only problem I see is I'm going to make it a little bigger. But the problem I see is if you zoom in, you see these letters are really close together. And what I need to do is spread them apart. So I'm going to make this a little smaller because I'm going to spread them apart a little bit. So if you go over here and you see this little ABC with the arrow, you click on that and you'll see that you can come over here now. If you hold the shift key down, you can spread them apart. If you don't hold the shift key down, you can bring them close together. So you can see the gap I have between the P and the A right there. I'm going to try to make this gap a little bigger between the A and the M and the P, because I'm going to V-carve this and probably fill this with epoxy. And I don't want them to be too close together because they just won't cut very good. You don't want them too close. So I use this text edit spacing key to kind of spread them apart. And if we have to, we'll shrink it up again too. And a little more between the S and the E. That looks good. Let's see if we can center that side to side. And there we go. So that's perfect. So pamplemousse cellar. So we're going to do another text edit and we're going to type in cellar, C-E-L-L-A-R. And go ahead and close. And you can see it already made it the same size as the upper one. So we're going to center that side to side, and then we're going to move it down to where we want it right here. I'm going to check the centering again, side to side. It did not move. Now these letters, I can see right there that the A and the R is too close. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to go up here to the text edit tool and hold the shift key down and spread them apart a little bit. Doesn't need to be a huge amount, but we definitely don't want them together. Okay, now what we need to do is center that again because we just moved it around. You can see it just moved. We'll close that. Now we need to decide on how we want to do the tooling for this. And if I cut it all at the same time, so if let's group all these together and go over to the tooling path. Now let's try a few different things. We'll try to do a 3D tool path around this whole thing. So let's go ahead, check that. It shows our material thickness. You want to always check all this stuff in the material. We'll hit OK. Now we want material boundaries so that basically it's gonna leave these pamplemousse letters high along with the 3D model. Now let's try that out. And I don't see my letters anywhere, so that might not have worked. So let's preview. And that did not work. So we're going to delete that. We're going to reset the preview, close, go back to our 2D. So we need to do two separate things. We're going to have to do the pamplemousse letters on a different thing. So we're going to, oh, these are ungrouped. So let's go to our 2D view. Let's hold the shift key down and group all our 3D objects together because we're going to have to cut all that at the same time. Now hit right click and group objects. So now if we touch on one, it's all of them. So I think what we're going to do is we'll V-carve the pamplemousse cellar and do an epoxy inlay and then stain the rest of this. So the first thing we need to do, the thing that takes the longest is the roughing toolpath. So we'll go ahead and hit the roughing toolpath. We're going to do material boundary because I want all of this to come out. And it's going to take a little time to cut all that out. So we're going to go ahead and calculate. Now we'll close that. We'll go ahead, leave it highlighted. We'll do our 3D tooling path. And this is a 46288 Amana tapered ball nose. And we're going to do the same thing, material boundary, and go ahead and calculate. Now that's going to take a little time because it's doing this whole square. Now we're going to preview all so we can get an idea of what this looks like. And that's looking pretty cool. So you can see it's cut quite a bit down, but it's leaving some out, and you can really see the details in the grapes and everything. Okay, next up we'll go back to our 2D view, and we need to do the V-Carve. So we're going to V-Carve these letters, and there's a trick to that. So I've got the pamplemousse cellar highlighted. We're going to go ahead and hit V-Carve. Now there's a button down here, project toolpath onto 3D model. So let's hit that. Now this should change the whole thing. This should basically get down to that modeling toolpath. So preview visible toolpath, and there we go. So now we're in the model. And I got to decide if I like that. Let me know in the comments what you think, but I think I like that. And yeah, I'm going to send this to my friend Jeffrey. This is a fun thing to do. Anyway, okay, so now we are done. We're going to go ahead and highlight all the toolpaths, save them, and go start cutting this out. Yeah, this looks good. And I'm basically repurposing a cutting board it was kind of a nice cutting board. So actually he'll be able to flip this over. Oh no, he won't actually. Because if he flips it over, the 3D model will be in the way. So yeah, this was it started out as a cutting board, but it didn't sell. So actually I sold a lot of them, but I still had a couple of these, and I wanted to do something fun today. Anyway, let's save this and we'll go over to the machine. Okay, I'll see you over there. The first thing I do is I get my material all wedged in and get it clamped down real tight. I'm using a couple Rockler T-track clamps on the bottom, and then I wedge in the 3 sides with some wood. Now I had an idea actually to clamp the 2 pieces of wood before I screw it together, and that actually seemed to work good. This thing was really solid on this board. Right there you can see I clamp it, put some screws in it, and that worked pretty good. I ended up throwing another block on the back here, and yeah, it held really nicely. And that's really important when you're doing any CNC project, is have it really square. The next thing I do is I home the machine, and that's basically down the checklist. These are all the things you got to do. I also get the vacuum system ready and turned on. I then change to this bit. This is an Amana straight cut 1/8 inch down cut straight cut bit, and I'll show you a picture of it right here. Now the first thing we're going to do is XYZ the top left bottom corner, or the bottom left corner of the material. And it Z's out first, then it does a Y, and then it does the X. And once it's done with that, then it was time to pre-run the spindle for a spindle warm-up, and that takes a few minutes. Next up, I load the program and run it. And this is 20 times speed. And yeah, it's taken off about an 1/8 inch, it looks like. Now this bit did break at the very end. I'm not sure why. The camera died right before it finished, and it actually finished. So I don't know what caused it to break. Sometimes if it doesn't lift up high enough when it goes back to the homing position, yeah, so I got to remember to check those type of settings. But I have had that happen before. But this did a really good job. Yeah, this is the roughing toolpath. I don't know how long it took. Like I said, this is 20 times speed. Right here, I switched to the ball nose Amana 3D cutting bit, and I'll show you a picture of it right here. It's a 42688, I believe, or 4628. Oh, I'll show you a picture right here. Now here you can see the broken bit from the roughing toolpath. I don't know why it broke, but it did finish the toolpath, and then it broke. So right here, I ended up making a mistake. What I was supposed to do was Z out at the top of the 3D model. In other words, right on top of the wine bottle. But for some reason, I thought I was supposed to Z out at the bottom left corner of the material, which was wrong. And I'll show you right here what happens. So right off the bat, it starts going back and forth, cutting out this. And I didn't realize I had a problem until right about here. And I'm thinking, wow, that's cutting really deep. And then I started to think about it, and I hit the emergency stop button and basically stopped it right there. And that's when I realized that I really needed to Z out from the top of the 3D model. So right here you see I actually I re-Z'd it to the top of the model, and then it started cutting where it's supposed to. So I was gonna, this was a prototype for some future projects, so I did it out of basically a small piece of wood. Now you can see the detail. This is 20 times speed, and it's I'm shooting this with my GoPro, and it's cutting really nice, perfect. Yeah, you just have to remember to Z out at the top of the 3D model, and that's an important thing to remember for myself. Anyway, I'll speed this up a little bit. I think it took about 3 hours to make this all together, maybe 4. Right here I put the V-bit in, I Z it off to the top of the model, and it cut perfect. So that was an important lesson, and right there you can see the finished product. Thank you very much for watching. This is a prototype of some bigger ones that I'm going to do in the future. Please subscribe, like the video, and I will see you next time. Later.
Work hard, get dough. I can't get no sleep, which make my life more simple. But I wouldn't trade a thing